So in this video, we're going to go ahead and install the Pardot app in Salesforce. I am going to put a link to this tutorial as well in case you want to see it not only visually but also follow step by step. One of the things to note is we do have the installation links here if you're going to be installing in a production environment or if you're going to be installing into a sandbox environment. So I am going to be installing to a production environment. So I'm going to go ahead and open this link. And it's loading up right now. And we have here our upgrade to Pardot by Salesforce. And so for right now, and I do suggest only installing for admins, we can talk about assigning it out to different profiles later, but for this step, let's install for admins only and hit upgrade. So sometimes you may get a notification that the app is taking too long to upgrade, and we'll receive an email after the upgrade is completed. That's okay for now. I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and we'll come back here in just a second. So now that the Pardot app has installed within Salesforce, we need to make sure that the connector user has both the Pardot connector user permission sets and the standard object and field permission sets. So talking about a little bit of the connector user, for Pardot and Salesforce to talk to each other, we usually take an administrator user seat in Salesforce or the main marketing person's user seat in Salesforce, and we're going to connect the two apps to each other. We'll want to make sure that the connector user contains all of the right permission sets and also able to see all standard object and fields. So to do that, let's go to Setup, and I'm going to be using my own administrator user in Salesforce to connect Pardot and Salesforce together. So I'm going to go over to Manage Users. I'm going to go ahead and click on my user. And I'm going to go Permission Sets. I'm going to edit assignments. And I want to go in and add Pardot and Pardot connector user, and I'm going to do Salesforce Engage if we have Salesforce Engage as part of our package. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. So additional users will also need to take the same steps to have the Pardot standard permission sets. This way they can view Pardot data on the lead and contact layouts. So when you're ready to add additional users to Pardot, you'll want to come back and grant them access to the general Pardot permission set. So this next step is optional. Some organizations restrict IP access for different Salesforce users' profile, and that restriction may prevent the connector from verifying. If you complete the process of setting up the connector and after several minutes the connector doesn't verify, you may want to add a few IP ranges for your connector user. If we go over into our setup page like we are here, and we go down to Manage Users and Profiles, we'll want to find the profile that the connector user is on. For instance, my connector user is a system administrator. So I'm going to go ahead and click in on system administrator. And then I need to go down to our login IP ranges. So within here, we want to add IP ranges. And let's go ahead and add in the IP start address, which is 136.147.104.20. I'll also be posting this up on the overview page. And the ending IP address is 136.147.104.23. And I'm going to put in here Pardot. I'm not going to add this because I currently don't have a restriction for my login IP ranges. And then we'll need to add one more login IP range. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel here. But let's just say we already had our first one added in. We would see it right here. And let's go ahead and add in the second additional login for Pardot. The start IP address will be 136.147.96.20. And the ending address would be 136.147.96.23. And again, in the description, I would put Pardot 2. And then go ahead and hit Save. So our next step, we're going to go ahead in Salesforce and map over the Pardot fields that were added when we added in the Pardot app, and we're going to map them from the lead to the contact. The reason why we want to do this is as Pardot pushes prospects as leads into Salesforce, we'll have different information in there such as Pardot campaign, Pardot grade, Pardot score. And when we convert our lead to a contact, we'll want to make sure those additional fields move over from the lead to a contact. So to go ahead and do that, a couple of things we can do. One, we can use our quick find, and in quick find we might put lead, and then we'll see our lead here, and then we'll want to click on fields, or just so you can see the longer step, instead of using the quick find, we can scroll down, hit customize, hit leads, and then we'll go to our fields. So we want to make sure that we're mapping our lead fields to our contact fields. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Map Leads Field button. So this is where we want to map our lead fields to our contact fields. So I'm going to jump away from account and I'm going to go over to contact. So we'll see that here are our lead fields and here are our contact fields. So I'm going to scroll down a bit until I start seeing my Pardot. Right here, we'll notice that we have Pardot campaign. So let's go ahead and add in here Pardot campaign. We have our Pardot comments. Let's add Pardot comments. We have our Pardot conversion date. This means when somebody converted from a visitor to a prospect. Pardot conversion object name. This means what did they convert on? Was it a landing page? Was it a form? And then what was the object type? Pardot created date. Pardot first activity. Pardot first refer. The referrer query. The referrer type. Pardot grade. Pardot hard bounce. Pardot last activity. When their last score took place. Pardot notes. Pardot score. Their Pardot URL. Awesome, so we got all of our Pardot fields in here and we mapped them over correctly to our contact fields. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Perfect. So the next step we want to take is customizing our lead layout pages. If we either do our quick find, or you can also go under build and then customize and then lead. We can go over to the quick find and I'm going to go ahead and put in lead. And then let's go ahead and look at our page layouts. So once we're on the lead layout page, one of the things that we'll want to think about is, do we want to go ahead and make it available to all of our users within Salesforce and add it onto the lead layout? Or maybe we want to create a new lead layout for particular users within Salesforce. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and edit my current lead layout because I want everyone to be able to see any of the information that I'm passing over from Pardot. So when we get into our lead layout, what we'll want to do is we'll want to go ahead and create a new section. And usually I'll put this new section under, let's scroll down a little bit. I'll put it right at the bottom here. It's kind of being funky. And I'm going to use a 2-column layout for this, and I'm going to put Pardot details. And hit OK. So after we add our Pardot details section, we can go up and we're able to see all the additional fields that were created when the Pardot app was installed. Some of the fields that I like to use are Pardot campaign, Pardot grade, and Pardot score. And then on the right hand side, I like to use Pardot last activity. So on the right hand side, I do like to add Pardot first activity, Pardot last activity, and then Pardot notes. A quick tip on Pardot notes that I like to use is when you have your marketing team in Pardot, they're able to write on particular leads or contacts different information that they might want to share with the sales team, and they would write that in Pardot notes. So this again would be information that the marketing team wants to share with the sales team. Now the next items that we want to drop down into our Pardot details, we're going to find them under the Visual Force pages. So if we look at the Visual Force pages, we can see Pardot Activities and Pardot List Membership. Let's go ahead and grab Pardot Activities and let's scroll down here. All right, and I'm going to put my Pardot Activities here, right underneath the Pardot score. And then I want to go and get my Pardot List Membership. And I'm going to add that right over on the right hand side. So now we have our Pardot details complete. We're able to see what Pardot campaign this prospect is associated with, what is their current grade, what is their scored, what activities have they taken within the system or our website. It's really detailed information if they were sent an email, if they opened an email, if they downloaded a PDF, etc. We're also able to see when the prospect first took activity, when was their last activity, notes from our marketing team, and we can see what kind of Pardot marketing lists are they a part of. A few more items before we're done here. If I go ahead and scroll back up, one of the things I can do is I can add a couple of buttons up in my standard buttons area. So we have two different options. If you did not purchase Salesforce Engage, we do have an option of sending a Pardot email from Salesforce to this particular lead or contact. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up into the buttons area and I'm going to go ahead and send Pardot email. And I'm going to put that right into here, and I'm going to take out this send an email button since I do want my sales team to send through Pardot so we can track what these prospects are doing. If you have Engage, I would take out the send Pardot email and let's go ahead and add in the send Engage email. This way your Salesforce users can send, your Salesforce users with Engage can go ahead and send Engage emails. An additional button we have if we want to limit what leads and contacts get pushed to Pardot, we do have a Send to Pardot button. We can drop that Send to Pardot button down here. We'll talk a little bit more about this button when we set up the connector user in Pardot. So if you have a Pro or Ultimate account, we can add scoring categories as well, and this is going to be a related list. What I would do is I'd go to my related list, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab this Pardot category scores, and I'm going to drop that down under my related lists. So once we've added the related list, let's go ahead and click on the wrench. And I'm going to take out the lead score ID, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our scoring category name, our score, and then we want to add in the last modified date. And I'm going to hit OK. Now that we have our lead layout set up, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Yes. And now it went ahead and it saved my lead layout. We're going to do the same additional items on the contact layout. So again, to find that, we're going to hit Contact, Page Layouts, our contact layout, and the same thing, let's go ahead and add a section. So the same thing, we're going to go ahead and add a new section, 2 column, and we're going to name this Pardot Details, hit OK. We'll go back over and we'll hit Pardot Campaign, Pardot Grade. Let's grab our Pardot Score. Pardot First Activity, Pardot Last Activity, and Pardot Notes. And then we'll go to our Visual Force pages. Let's grab Pardot Activities, Pardot list membership. We'll scroll up, and now we also want to add our buttons. So let's go over to our buttons. I'm going to do send Pardot email. I'm going to take off send an email. And then I want to go to my related lists, and I want to add in my Pardot scoring categories. We'll click on the wrench. And we'll add our category name, scoring category, and our score. Hit OK. And then let's go ahead and save. Perfect, we've now set everything up in Salesforce. So we're going to jump back into Pardot because we're going to now connect Pardot and Salesforce together. So jumping back over to Pardot, I'm going to go over to my admin tab, and then I'm going to go into my connectors. So you'll see here we already have a couple of default connectors set up for us. One is LinkedIn and the other one is data.com. Let's go ahead and add in a new connector. And we want to add in our Salesforce connector. I am not connecting to a sandbox, but if you are connecting to a sandbox, go ahead and click this connect to a sandbox. But I'm going to hit create connector. So within here, we need to log in. We'll want to log in with the Pardot connector user that we've set up all the permissions for already. So let's go ahead and get that username and password. So add in your username and your password and hit login. So here it's basically just asking you, are you sure you want to allow access? You can go ahead and read each one, but I do want to allow all access, and I'm going to hit allow. Great, so once that's set up, we have a couple of options here under our Create Salesforce connector. We can automatically create prospects in Pardot if they're created as a lead or contact in Salesforce. So this really depends if you do bulk uploads into Salesforce and maybe you only have a limit of 10,000 prospects in Pardot, you might not want to automatically create prospects in Pardot if they're bulk uploaded into Salesforce. So we could leave this option off. Again, we can also turn this option on and it will automatically allow anyone who has an email, both a lead or a contact, to automatically be pushed into Pardot. So that's really up to you and what your long-term goals are. So for me, I'm not going to allow anyone who's created in Salesforce to come into my Pardot instance. That's one of the reasons when we did our contact page layout or our lead page layout, we added in, and I'm just going to go and grab one of my leads. That's one of the reasons why we did a send to Pardot button, because now if I wanted to, I could take this particular person and I can send them to Pardot. So jumping back over to our connector, we have automatically change email address in Pardot to reflect changes in Salesforce. I think this is super important to keep connected. It's automatically going to be checked for you. One of the reasons why we want to do this is we want to have clean data. So if somebody calls in to one of your reps and they needed to update their email address, it automatically gets pushed into Pardot for you. Ideally, I do like to check the second item off as well, and this will automatically delete or merge prospects if the corresponding records in Salesforce are deleted and merged. Again, it's all about clean data. If we have duplicates in our Salesforce instance, when we start to clean up and we're merging them, we're going to want to merge those same records in Pardot. Likewise, if you have bad leads and bad contacts that are no good and you're deleting them out of your system, let's go ahead and delete them out of Pardot. We also have an additional option to exclude Salesforce partners and customer portal users from prospect assignment. I'm also going to check this on. Personally, I don't have any Salesforce partner or customer portal users in my Salesforce account, but if you do, we want to make sure that we're not assigning any leads from Pardot to these users. Automatically match Salesforce users to Pardot users. This is really great when we're starting to import our sales team, our marketing team from Salesforce and we're importing them as users into Pardot. It will automatically match their Salesforce user to the Pardot user. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this checked. Allow editing of prospects lists within the CRM. So if we jump back over to our lead, we'll be able to see that we have our prospect list right here. So one of the great things with prospect lists is we can, from Salesforce, we can go ahead, if we allow this option, we can go ahead and add or remove prospects from particular lists within the system. Again, this might take some training for your sales users. You might not want your sales users to add people or remove people to lists. Personally, I would, because if they're currently selling to a lead and maybe we have a short-term nurture that we've set up in Pardot, and that lead's just not ready yet to be converted into a contact with an opportunity, I'm going to go ahead and push them as a sales user to that short-term nurture. So maybe they might get some high overview of who we are as a company, and then 3 weeks from now I'm going to go ahead and take them out of that short-term nurture and try to get them to convert to a contact. We have 2 additional drop downs here: email logging and email notifications. So we have sync emails with the CRM. Basically what this does is this automatically logs an activity for every email sent to the prospect. This can include list emails, autoresponders, one-to-one if they're an engagement studio. This can honestly quickly fill up your activity views, especially on an account object. It will log an activity for every single email. And if we enable this, this is not retroactive. So if we go ahead and enable this and we're sending out emails and your sales users complain saying, hey, all I can see are these activities from Pardot and I can't see anything else that's going on, even when we uncheck this, it's not going to take back all the activities that is already placed within Salesforce. So personally, I don't recommend to keep that checked. The sync plugin emails with the CRM, basically what this does is if you have Engage for Gmail and you have this sync, it's going to go ahead and it's going to sync any Engage emails sent from Gmail into the activity area. So under our email notifications, we have Enable Salesforce emails for task creation. So basically what this means is within Pardot, if we end up doing some type of an action that creates a task for the user, it is going to have Salesforce send them an email. So we have here Enable Salesforce emails for assignment roles, and it's generally the same thing. If we're pushing out an assignment from Pardot, it's going to allow Salesforce to send the email out for the assignment. And then we have another option below here, Enable Salesforce emails for user and queue assignments. Personally, I like to keep this checked, and I don't like Pardot sending the emails letting someone know that someone has been assigned for them or they've been pushed into a queue. I like to use Salesforce for that. So we definitely want to make sure, if we are selecting this option, when we're setting up our users, we want to go ahead and disable that notification so that they don't have 2 emails being sent to them. So what this last one does, send Pardot notification emails when a merge is synced down from Salesforce, is it will send an email to the connector user and it will let them know if a contact or a lead has been merged within Salesforce, and it will send an email letting the connector user know that those 2 records have been merged. Again, this is optional if you want to receive this notification. And go ahead and hit finish. So right now our verification still is in progress. This can take a couple of minutes. I'm going to go ahead and jump out and then I'll be able to come back in to see if it did go ahead and verify. And when we jump back in, we can see here that my connector is verified.